The hanger was empty. I remember just staring at it, swinging slightly in the closet like it knew it was part of something ugly. Her black set. The one with the small ribbon stitched on the front and a clasp so delicate I once broke it just trying to unhook it. I hadn't seen her wear that in over a year. And now it was gone. I checked the laundry basket. Nothing. Not a single piece of it. Just her blouse, folded oddly at the bottom with a faint trace of perfume that wasn't hers. My mouth was dry. I kept trying to swallow, but it felt like I chewed gravel. She had left an hour earlier for the dinner. But something was off the moment she walked past me. She didn't meet my eyes. She didn't look back. No, wish me luck, no, don't wait up. Just the sharp click of heels and the front door closing. I don't know why I went upstairs. I wish I hadn't. Because when I opened her drawer, something caught my attention, a receipt sticking out from her compact mirror case. It was for a hotel room. 2 nights. Champagne service. Printed just 2 hours ago. I swear my vision blurred. Not like in the movies where it goes dramatic and slow motion. I mean literally, I couldn't read the words because my hands were shaking too hard. I walked back downstairs. Sat on the edge of the sofa. Stared at the wall. I didn't even think to call her. What would I say? Hey babe. Forgot to ask, why did you pack your risque underwear for a client dinner and book a hotel suite with champagne? The house was quiet. Too quiet. No dog barking. No music playing. Just the ceiling fan making that faint clicking noise like it was mocking me. And then I don't even know what got into me. I grabbed my keys. Not to go confront her. I didn't even have a plan. I just couldn't sit still. But I didn't make it out the door. Because my phone lit up. A message. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. She said you'd never find out. Thought you deserved this anyway. There was a photo attached. Her. In the mirror. Wearing the lingerie. Only she wasn't alone. There was a man, shirtless, behind her, holding her hips, looking into the camera like he wanted to be seen. I dropped the phone. I couldn't breathe. My whole body felt wrong, like my skin was too tight and my bones didn't fit anymore. And then it got worse. Because 5 minutes later, she walked through the front door. Her lipstick smeared. Hair messy. Her eyes puffy. She looked right at me, standing frozen like an idiot by the kitchen counter. She opened her mouth. But didn't speak. Instead, she dropped her bag to the floor. And started crying. Like full body sobbing. Like her world had ended. And all I could think was, who's crying for me? I should have said something. Anything. Even just one word. But I didn't. I stood there, blinking like I'd just been hit with a snowball to the face. She was standing 2 feet away from me and I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't feel anything except the static building in my ears. Like I was underwater and someone pulled the plug on gravity. She didn't try to explain right away. She didn't say, Curtis, it's not what it looks like, or even go into damage control mode like I expected. No, she just cried. Loud, desperate, hiccuping sobs. Her hands clutched the sides of her coat, white-knuckled like she was trying to hold herself together, literally. I hated that I still wanted to comfort her. That even in that moment, after what I saw, some sick reflex inside me wanted to take her in my arms and ask what was wrong. But then I remembered the photo. His hands. Her smile. So I asked, not gently. Who is he? She blinked like the question caught her off guard. Like I had blindsided her. She wiped her face with the sleeve of her coat and looked down at the floor. Please, she whispered. Please let me talk before you say anything else. That didn't feel like a good sign. She dropped onto the couch like her legs had given out. Still no answer. Just more tears. More silence. And me just standing there like the spineless, clueless idiot I apparently was. When she finally spoke again, her voice was raw. It was supposed to be nothing. It was a stupid thing. I didn't plan it. I didn't go out looking for it. I didn't say anything. I knew how this part went. I felt invisible, Curtis, she said suddenly. For months I'd come home and you'd barely look up from your phone. Or the news. Or those dumb aquarium diagrams you print out at the dinner table. That stung. Low blow? Maybe. But I didn't push back. I'm not the kind of guy who yells. I shut down. I internalize everything like a sponge full of acid. So I just stood there, letting her pour guilt into the room, hoping she'd at least choke on some of it. She went on and it only got worse. I met him at the client mixer 3 months ago. He was new. He made me laugh. He actually listened. And then we started texting. And then. Her voice cracked. She couldn't even finish the sentence. But she didn't need to. I sat down across from her, not beside her, and rested my hands on my knees, trying to keep them from trembling. Was that him in the photo? I asked. She nodded. Barely. Just the smallest dip of her chin. And the hotel? I added, my voice flat, robotic. I told you it was a dinner. I didn't think you'd ever. She stopped herself. I was going to end it. After last night. I swear I was. But I panicked. I didn't know what to say. I never expected you to find out like this. Like this? A stranger texting me a picture of my wife in lingerie with a half-naked guy in the background? That wasn't exactly a natural way to find out, no. But apparently for her, the timing was the only tragedy here. I stood up. My body felt stiff, disconnected from my brain. You were going to end it after last night, I repeated slowly. So what, you needed one last night together? One final champagne goodbye before returning to your loser husband and our fish tank life. She shook her head violently. No, Curtis, don't say that. You're not a loser. Then what am I? I asked, finally letting my voice rise. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm the background character in your romantic side quest. She buried her face in her hands. And I? I walked into the kitchen, not because I had a plan, but because I didn't know what else to do. I opened the fridge, stared at a half-empty bottle of ginger ale, and thought to myself, this is the most pathetic moment of my life. But I didn't cry again. No, I laughed. Just a small, broken laugh. Because right then, my phone buzzed again. Same number. That wasn't even the worst of it. You should probably check the videos. Videos? I didn't even open the message. I just looked at her, still crying, and said, I think you should go. And for the first time since this nightmare started, Lorelai didn't argue. She got up, grabbed her coat, and walked to the door. But before she stepped out, she turned around and said something that haunts me even now. I never thought I'd say this, but I miss the way you used to look at me when you were proud. Then she was gone, and I was left standing in my kitchen. With a bottle of ginger ale, a phone full of unknown messages, and an ache in my chest that no apology could fix. I stared at my phone like it was ticking. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to see what else it was hiding. But curiosity, the kind that makes your stomach cramp, started to burn through my hesitation. My thumbs hovered over the screen, not really sure if I was about to ruin myself further or if I already had. 3 new messages. All from the same number. No name. Just digits. The last one? Play the video before she deletes it. And for some reason, that made my legs give out. I dropped onto the kitchen floor, back against the fridge, like I needed something cold to keep me from overheating. I clicked it. At first, it was dark. Muffled voices. Laughing. But not the kind of laugh you share at a restaurant with friends. This was the drunk, breathy kind. The kind you make when you think no one else is listening. The screen adjusted, and there they were. Lorelai. And him. She was sitting on a hotel bed, barefoot, hair wet like she'd just showered. He stood in front of her, unbuttoning his shirt with one hand while sipping champagne with the other. She reached up, pulled him close, and whispered something into his chest. I couldn't make out the words. But then she laughed again. And this time I recognized the tone. That high-pitched little sound she used to make when I surprised her with weekend road trips. Or when I used to kiss her neck before bed. She never laughed like that with me anymore. I paused the video. My thumb hovered over the delete button. Every inch of me wanted to destroy it, like somehow removing it would make it less real. But I didn't delete it. I watched it again. And this time I didn't feel sad. I felt humiliated. Not angry. Not yet. Just exposed. Like every boring, quiet, safe little moment I'd shared with her was being held up next to this secret second life and compared and laughed at. Because that's what it felt like. Like she was laughing at me. When the video ended, I didn't move. I just sat there, surrounded by yesterday's silence and today's shame. I looked around the kitchen and realized how stupid everything felt. The magnet on the fridge that said, "Home is where the heart is." The calendar with her work meetings circled in pink. The photo of us at Niagara Falls, her in my hoodie, me with windblown hair and that proud, goofy grin like I just married the best woman alive. It all felt like a lie. I got up and poured the ginger ale into the sink. The sound of it fizzing reminded me of static. I wanted it quiet. Completely quiet. But the silence didn't last. Because 5 minutes later, my front door opened again. I froze. I thought she had come back. Maybe to try again. Maybe to talk. Maybe to lie some more. But it wasn't Lorelai. It was a man. Tall. Sloppy suit. Slight stubble like he'd slept in his car. And in his hand he was holding her purse. "What the who are you?" I asked, startled and immediately on edge. He held up the purse. "She left this in my car." I blinked. "Wait, are you a rideshare driver or something?" He hesitated. "Kind of." Then he set the purse on the counter, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "You might want to check the inside pocket before she comes to get it." And then he walked away. No name. No explanation. Nothing. I stood there staring at the purse like it might explode. Then I opened it. Inside, beneath her wallet and a crumpled tissue, was a folded napkin. One of those thick linen ones from upscale hotel bars. It had writing on it. Room 521. Use the service elevator. Don't knock. My throat went dry again. The napkin was stained with lipstick. Her shade. And just when I thought I couldn't feel any worse, my phone lit up one more time. Same number. Ask her about Phoenix. That's where it started. Phoenix? She hadn't been to Arizona since. I don't know. Years? At least, that's what she told me. I stood there in my kitchen, with the purse, the napkin, the photo, the video, all of it, and I finally said something out loud. Something real. I don't even know who she is anymore. And in that moment, I wasn't crying. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't even thinking clearly. I just knew one thing. I had to find out what happened in Phoenix. Phoenix. That word kept looping in my head like a cursed chant. She never mentioned Phoenix. Not recently. The last time she even said the word was probably years ago, maybe when we were watching some travel show and she pointed to the desert and said, I'd melt in 5 minutes there. So what the hell was this stranger talking about? I opened my laptop. If there was one thing Lorelai didn't protect, it was her browser history because she assumed I never checked it. And she was right. I never had. Until now. I pulled up her saved logins. Email. Work calendar. A synced itinerary from 6 months ago. And there it was. Flight itinerary, P-checks arrival, March 9th, 11:52 p.m. Filed under Conference, Marketing Strategies. I clicked on the PDF. 2 names. Her. And Benjamin G. Holloway. The same initials from the hotel reservation confirmation I found earlier. BH. Everything inside me started unraveling. I opened another tab and searched his name. VP of Partnerships, Lanemax Strategies. Married. 2 kids. Lived in Scottsdale. Public LinkedIn. He even had a post about work-life balance from just last week. I stared at his photo like I wanted to rip it off the screen. He was handsome in that soft, arrogant way. Perfect teeth. A face that said, I've never been told no in my life. I leaned back and realized I was gripping the mouse so tight my hand had gone numb. So it started in Phoenix. That must have been the first time. That March conference when she flew out and stayed with a group from work. I remembered how she sent me a photo of a hotel breakfast. I remembered how she FaceTimed me from what she claimed was the lobby with palm trees in the background. And I remembered how, just after that trip, she started wearing perfume again. It all made sense now. Too much sense. But here's what didn't. Why would someone go to the trouble of sending me this? The photos. The video. The message about Phoenix. The napkin. Whoever it was, they weren't doing it to help me. It didn't feel like kindness. It felt like someone using me. Like I was being moved around on some board I didn't even know I was playing on. And that thought chilled me more than the betrayal. I needed answers. Real ones. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I called her mother. Lorelai and her mom weren't close. Their relationship was weird, polite on the surface, but sharp underneath. Her mom, Janice, was blunt. Cold. The kind of woman who could cut you in half with a look. I always avoided her. But I figured if Lorelai had ever slipped, ever let something slide, it would have been with Janice during one of their wine and gossip nights when they forgot I existed. When she picked up, she sounded surprised. Curtis? Hey, I said. Sorry to call out of the blue. I needed to ask you something. There was a long pause. Then, does this have to do with Lorelai? Another chill ran down my spine. What do you know? I asked. She called me this morning. Crying. I figured something had happened between you two. But Curtis, Janice's voice dropped. If this is about Phoenix, you should stop digging. My blood ran cold. She knew. Why? I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. Because the people involved in that trip don't play around. You think this is about your marriage? It's bigger than that. It was never just a fling. What are you talking about? I shouldn't have said anything. Her tone changed immediately. Don't call me again. Click. Just like that. The line went dead. I stood in my kitchen, once again, phone in hand, heart racing, and for the first time since this whole thing began. I was scared. Because this wasn't just infidelity anymore. There was something underneath it. Something I wasn't supposed to find. And yet here I was. Already too far into back out. I stood in my kitchen gripping the phone so hard I thought it might crack in my hand. Janice's voice kept echoing in my head. It was never just a fling. What the hell did that even mean? And why would she tell me to stop digging? You know when you hear something that's not just painful, but infectious? Like it plants something in your head that spreads? That's what those words did. They infected me. I couldn't sleep. I didn't even try. I paced the house like it was burning from the inside out. The walls fell closer. The floorboards squeaked more than usual. I opened windows, closed them again. Checked the locks. Drank water I didn't want. At some point around 2 a.m. I made up my mind. If Lorelei wasn't going to give me answers and her mother was going to hang up on me like I'd stumbled into classified territory, I was going to find someone else who could talk. And I knew exactly who that was. The driver. The guy who brought her purse back. The one who said kind of when I asked if he was rideshare. I hadn't caught his name. He hadn't offered one. But I had the purse. And I had an idea. I grabbed it off the counter and pulled everything out like a lunatic. Lipstick. Receipts. Gum. Travel-sized deodorant. And at the very bottom, folded up like an afterthought, was a dry cleaning stub. But not from any place around here. The address said Chandler, Arizona. Phoenix metro area. The napkin. The receipt. The itinerary. The driver. Her mother's warning. All of it pointed to Phoenix like a blinking red arrow. And something inside me snapped. That morning, without telling a soul, I booked a one-way flight. I left Lorelei a note, "Don't call. I'm going to find out what you couldn't say." I arrived in Phoenix to dry heat that wrapped around me like a punishment. Every part of me felt out of place. I wasn't a risk-taker. I didn't fly off on confrontational missions. I built fish tanks and kept my head down. I wasn't built for this. But none of that mattered anymore. The truth had become a living, breathing thing. And it wouldn't stop pacing in my chest. I took a cab straight to the dry cleaner listed on the stub. A hole-in-the-wall place off a strip mall. The guy behind the counter was friendly enough until I slid the stub across and asked if he recognized the name on it. He glanced at the slip, frowned, and then stared at me longer than necessary. "You a cop?" he asked. "No." "You a reporter?" "No. I'm her husband." His eyes narrowed like that was the worst answer I could have given. Then, without a word, he disappeared into the back. I thought he wasn't coming back. But 5 minutes later, he returned with a business card. He slid it across the counter. It was black. Matte. No logo. Just a name. G. Renner. Corporate risk, private. No phone. No address. Just a QR code. "What is this?" I asked. The man behind the counter leaned forward and said quietly she wasn't here for a conference. I don't know who she was working with, but she brought in clothes with blood on them. Expensive ones. Cleaned M. No questions asked. We get instructions from a few people like that. I blinked. "Wait. Blood?" He didn't flinch. "I didn't see anything. And you didn't hear that from me." I scanned the QR code. It opened a link to an encrypted message board with a simple prompt, "Enter verification key." I backed out immediately. Every hair on my arm stood up. Lorelei had been lying, yes. Cheating, probably. But this wasn't some dumb office fling. She wasn't just sleeping with a colleague. She was part of something buried deep. Something she clearly didn't want me or anyone else to know about. And somehow I just kicked open a door into it. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "Curtis, you've come too far. If you care about her life or yours, stop." I froze on the sidewalk, the desert sun beating into my neck. It wasn't a warning. It was a threat. And suddenly, this wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about survival. I didn't return to the hotel. I found the nearest 24-hour diner and sat in the back booth with my backpack between my knees like it was shielding me from the world. The waitress asked if I wanted coffee. I said no. Then yes. Then no again. She eventually brought it anyway and left me alone. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not from caffeine, I hadn't even touched the cup. From the message. "You've come too far." I was in over my head, but I didn't know how deep it went. I'd stumbled into something that had blood, encrypted message boards, dry cleaners trained to shut up, and a woman I used to fall asleep next to without locking our bedroom door. And I had no one. No friends I could trust with this. No family nearby. No backup plan if someone followed me out of that cleaner's shop. My phone was down to 18%, and I didn't have a charger. Even the waitress stopped checking in after a while. I must have looked like I belonged to whatever ghost town was building itself in my head. So I did the only thing I could. I went back to the card. T. Renner. Corporate risk. Private. No contact info. No number. But something told me he wasn't hiding. I took the card and showed it to the cashier when I paid for the coffee. "You ever seen this guy around?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He looked at the card for 3 seconds and said, "Try building 7. "Building what?" He pointed across the street to a large brown office complex with almost no signage. The weird glass one. Top floor. He's got a badge but no nameplate. Perfect. Just the kind of place my therapist would have warned me not to walk into. If I had a therapist. But I did it anyway. The lobby was dead silent. A security guard half asleep in the corner gave me a nod like I was just another courier or lawyer. I hit the elevator and rode it to the top floor. It opened into a hallway so sterile I felt like I was in a hospital wing for secrets. One door at the end was slightly open, and a voice from inside said, "You might as well come in. We knew you'd show." We, plural. My skin tightened as I stepped through the door. The man inside was sitting behind a glass desk, typing with one hand and drinking tea with the other. He had gray at his temples, clean nails, and a scar that ran just beneath his collar. I recognized him immediately because I'd seen him before, in the background of one of Lorelei's LinkedIn event photos. Standing next to her. No tag, no mention, just there. "You're G. Renner," I said, voice dry. He looked up and smiled, friendly like a guy welcoming someone to a golf club, not a room without windows. "Curtis," he said, gesturing to the seat across from him. "Have a seat. You're making my intern nervous." There was no intern. No one else in the room. I sat. "I don't know what's happening," I said, "but I know Lorelei lied. About Phoenix. About the man. About everything. I just want the truth." He leaned back, steepling his fingers. "The truth is complicated. You think this is about infidelity. But your wife didn't betray you in the way you think she did. That sounded like a setup for something cruel. You think it started with Benjamin Holloway," he continued. "It didn't. That man is a proxy. Disposable. Lorelei was recruited a year ago, first as a brand consultant, then as an asset. She was embedded in a circle of clients who required discretion. Corporate-level secrecy. High-risk decisions. Risk so big, it had to be personal. I blinked. She's not a spy. She works in marketing." "No, Curtis," he said with a small smile. "She used to work in marketing. Now she handles things, manages people, provides influence." My palms were sweating. Influence for who? He stood up and walked to a cabinet, pulled out a file, and dropped it on the desk in front of me. Inside were documents, photos, names I didn't recognize. But Lorelei's name was on nearly every page. Meetings in Dubai, transfers in Zurich, a trip to a hospital in Berlin under a false name. I was too stunned to speak. "She didn't tell you because she couldn't. You weren't supposed to find out. But someone is sending you pieces out of order, out of context. Someone wants you angry, exposed, predictable." "Who?" I asked, choking on the word. He looked at me carefully. "Someone who used to work with her. Someone she cut off. And now they're trying to use you as a backdoor." My chest was pounding so loud I couldn't hear myself think. "Why me?" "Because you're still her weak point." He closed the file. "You need to go home, Curtis. This isn't about your marriage anymore. It's about leverage." And then, almost as an afterthought, he added, "She still loves you, by the way. That's why she never told you. Love is a liability in our business." He turned away, signaling the conversation was over. But I didn't move, because I realized something terrifying. I wasn't the one who uncovered the truth. I was led to it, step by step, by someone who knew exactly which strings to pull. I didn't go straight to the airport. After I left G. Renner's office, my legs took me to a park bench 3 blocks away where the air smelled like dry grass and exhaust fumes. I don't know how long I sat there. The sun changed angles. Kids passed by with ice cream. Someone's dog barked at pigeons, and none of it mattered. My wife, the woman I made pancakes for every Sunday, had a second life in Zurich, Berlin, Dubai, wherever else the file said. And someone had been walking me straight into the center of her mess. Not to protect me, not even to expose her, but to use me. I took out my phone and scrolled back through the unknown messages. The threats, the tips, the photos, the video, the napkin, all of it. Every breadcrumb had been planted, not to hurt her, but to make me act. Like I was some pawn dropped in the middle of a broken chess game already in motion. I was shaking again. This time not from fear. From fury. Because someone thought I was too weak, too emotional, too heartbroken to think straight. Maybe they were right. But now? Now I needed a name. And the universe, in all its twisted sense of timing, delivered it. My phone buzzed. One new message. Unknown number. Good. You went to see Renner. Told you this would get you closer. Now let's finish it. Attached was a voice message. Not text. Voice. Against every instinct I had, I pressed play. A man's voice. Calm. Almost smug. You don't remember me, but I remember you. Your wedding was the first time I ever saw her in real life. I sat at the back. Table 9. Name tag said Theo. Nobody asked who I was. They all thought I was her cousin. But she knew. She saw me and she froze for half a second. And I knew then she thought I was gone. Erased. Left behind. She was wrong. I paused it. Theo? I racked my brain. I didn't know anyone named Theo. Lorelai never mentioned a Theo. Not in college. Not from childhood. Not ever. I hit play again. You didn't know she used to run jobs before the wedding, did you? Minor things. Courier work. Cold drops. Nothing major. That ring she wears? She bought it herself. With payment money. Not from you. My stomach dropped. That wasn't possible. I picked out the ring. I paid for it. I saved for it. Didn't I? You were the cover. The clean life. The one she thought would finally pull her out. But it didn't. She just got better at compartmentalizing. She kept one foot in your world, one foot in mine. Until one day she tried to amputate the past. The voice dropped colder now. She amputated me. I sat there motionless, the phone vibrating in my hand like it wanted to jump out of my grip. Theo wasn't just a name. He was her ghost. Someone she cut out of her life, maybe for me, maybe for herself, and now he was back with a knife in both hands. And I was the middleman. I typed back, hands trembling. What do you want from me? The reply came in less than a minute. I want her to feel fear. The kind I felt when she left me bleeding in that bathroom in Jakarta. You're the only one she ever let in. She never lied to anyone the way she lied to you. That makes you the only truth she can't bury. Then he sent a second message. A photo. Lorelai. Sitting in an airport lounge. Today's date. Looking at her phone. The caption read. She's flying home. You have a choice. Tell her what you know and leave. Or tell her nothing and watch her fall apart anyway. Either way, she'll know it came from you. That's when the realization hit me. Theo didn't want to kill her. He wanted to make me do it emotionally. He wanted to turn me into her punishment. Not with fists. Not with threats. With truth. Weaponized. I shut off the phone. Not because I was done. But because for the first time since this all began, I was the one holding power. And I hadn't decided what I would do with it yet. I met her at the gate. She was easy to spot, hair up, blazer folded over one arm, sunglasses that couldn't hide the panic in her shoulders. When she saw me, she stopped mid-step. Her lips parted slightly like she was about to ask if I was real or if maybe this was a dream she'd been dreading for months. Curtis, she said. And for the first time since all this began, I saw her clearly. Not the woman I built a home with. Not the liar who wore lingerie to a business dinner. Not even the stranger with secrets tucked into foreign bank accounts. Just a woman. Tired. Afraid. Human. I know, I said gently before she could begin her dance of explanations. She looked away. How much? Enough. I saw her eyes glaze over. Not the tears I expected, but something quieter. Resignation. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the photo Theo had sent, and held it out. Her face tensed when she saw it. She knew exactly who had sent it. That was all the confirmation I needed. I met Renner, I said. I saw the file. I know about Phoenix. Jakarta. Zurich. She sat down on the bench beside the gate, shoulders sagging. I thought I could keep the two lives separate, she whispered. You were my safe place. The one real thing I had. Then why lie? I asked. Why cheat? Why keep me in the dark while you were living a second life? She took a long breath, staring at the floor like it might offer her forgiveness. Because I didn't believe I deserved you. That answer, of all the ones she could have chosen, hit me the hardest. Because as pathetic as it sounds, I understood. I'd lived my whole life quietly convincing myself I was the second choice. The background. The easy option. But in her own twisted way, she saw me as something she couldn't taint. So instead, she lied to protect her image of me. You were never the weak one, Curtis, she said, finally looking at me. You were the anchor. And I was terrified you'd realize I didn't deserve to be held down. I didn't say anything. I just sat with her. Let the words settle between us like dust after a storm. Then I handed her a folded piece of paper. Plane ticket. She opened it slowly. Vermont? She asked. There's a cabin. Belongs to a guy I knew from my aquarium work. He owes me one. Quiet place. No phones. No pressure. Her voice broke. Are you coming with me? I shook my head. No. You go. Alone. Not forever. But until you figure out whether the life you want is the one you're still willing to fight for. And you? I'm going home. To my house. My fish. My peace. She laughed softly through the tears. I thought I broke you. I smiled. You almost did. But somewhere in the middle of chasing your truth, I found my own. We stood. She reached for my hand. Not to beg. Not to hold on. Just to say thank you without using words. Then she boarded the flight. I watched until the doors closed. That night I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't pour whiskey or call friends or burn old photos. I fed my fish, sat on the porch, and listened to the quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't come from absence, but from clarity. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not destroy someone for breaking you, but give them the chance to rebuild themselves while you finally remember how to live for you.